Hello everybody and welcome to The Mayor and I episode, we don't know what episode it is, with me, Lindsay Khan and Nick Buckley, MBE, and we are on the 2nd of July 2024, 2 days away from the general election for which Nick Buckley, MBE, is standing as the parliamentary candidate for Oldham East and Saddleworth. And please vote for him. But before we get into our general chat, how's the campaign going, Nick? You don't mind me asking. Sorry, welcome, Nick.
Oh, thank you very much. It's this last couple of days has taken off. More contact online, more engagement. Some of my videos have done really, really well. People are sending me photos now of their postal vote
What do I do?
with crosses next to my name.
There was that pause before you said people sending me pictures of their postal votes. Yeah, okay.
I didn't get any of those types of pictures.
Very good.
Yeah.
Are they sending you pictures of postal votes with your name with the cross?
Yes.
Or somebody else? Oh, right.
No.
That's even better.
Exactly. With a cross next to my name. Some private messages, people saying they're voting for me. But, we're looking at a couple of dozen. I'm not saying I'm getting hundreds here, but it's everyone you get's nice.
Yeah, but even a couple of doesn't suggest traction, and also people who are interested in actually communicating with you.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and it's nice to hear.
Yeah.
Because you're working in a void all the time. You've got no idea of anyone listening to you.
Yeah.
So every time you get a positive message, it reinforces what you're doing.
I've noticed in the comments a lot of it, because you're getting quite a lot of comments now in your videos, and a lot of people say, I'd vote for you if I live in London, but I'd vote for you. So clearly you're attracting a broader audience now. And it's interesting that people are saying if you were in their constituency, they would vote for you, which is quite a nice thing, I think.
It is. I got a lot of that during the mayor election as well. I think what I'm saying is resonating with lots and lots of people.
Yeah.
But those people are spread out across the UK.
Yes.
If you concentrated them in one area, then I'd win that parliamentary seat hands down.
Yeah.
But they're spread out. What I need to work out, if I don't win in 2 days' time, what I need to work out, which is the eternal question for all politicians, how do I reach more of the people, more of the everyday people?
Yeah.
I reach the people on Twitter and Facebook and things like that because they're following me, they're sharing, but that's only a small percentage of the population. The world doesn't live on Twitter and Facebook and TikTok. So I need to work out how I engage more people. And I think I know how to do it, but it costs money.
Yeah.
And that's the barrier for most people getting involved in politics and trying to get elected. It's the barrier of, do you have enough money to buy publicity, buy attention and buy advertisement? Yeah.
I mean, I look at the YouTube channel that this podcast is on, and I've seen that your followers are increasing quite substantially as you're going forward. I mean, this is a medium that you're clearly starting to attract people, and people are looking at your work. But there are other mediums like that as well, aren't there? Like TikTok, like podcasts. I mean, we call this a podcast, but it's actually a video, isn't it? Really, it isn't a podcast. But now podcasts are quite big. There's a lot of followers of podcasts online now.
Yeah.
Maybe that might be the way to go for as you go forward to develop this what you're doing now. And you get to it, you like Maya Tuzi, don't you? You're a big fan of his. He now has a massive online following, doesn't he?
Yeah.
YouTube following. I mean, how did he achieve that? I don't know how he did it, but that's...
It's like everything in business. It's slogging away, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's doing... You look at someone who's successful like Maya Tuzi and you think, oh, I'd like to be like him. But he's been doing it for 5, 6 years, 7 years, how long he's been doing it. And he's been working at it full-time, non-stop. And most of those years, no money was coming in. So you had to probably have another job on the side.
Yeah.
No one gives you anything in life. You've got to work hard to attain it.
Yes.
And we see people only when they're successful. And lots of people go, oh, you got that overnight. And it's like, no, I didn't get it overnight. I've been working hard for a long time for this. And then with some luck. We all need some luck.
Yeah. But I think you are certainly striking a chord with people in terms of the things you're saying, and not wishing to talk about Nigel Farage and reform again, which we will do later today. But I think that chord you're striking is very much the same people that Nigel Farage is striking a chord with. People who feel disenfranchised, who want common sense, who want. We talked about pink and fluffy last time, didn't we? Who want common sense, who want to hear somebody saying the things that they're thinking and don't understand why none of the politicians are saying it. And I think you're striking that chord with those people, and that's why people are starting to follow you and listen to your thoughts, basically.
It's that, as well as people say they hear me say things they would like to say, but are not brave enough, don't have the words to say it, don't have the right communication skills. And I hear you say those things, and I say to myself, that's exactly what I think. I just can't say it the way Nick said it. Or hasn't got the platform that Nick's got, even though I've only got a tiny platform. So there's lots of things building on to this. And I only have to look back a year. And I had a little bit of a following a year ago, but nothing like I've got now. And it's increasing every week and every month. And what I think will happen is I will do something or say something that will hit the political consciousness at that time, and things will explode. And lots of people hear about me then. I'm just waiting for something to happen, for me to be in the right place at the right time. And what I'm trying not to do is chase it. What I'm trying not to do is go, do you know what, that's popular, I'm going to talk about that. Well, if it's pointless and I've got nothing to say on that, then I'm not going to chase it, because then all I become then is the beginning of a career politician. I'm going to
or a career commentator.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I think there are, and you see them on channels such as GB News, which I like, by the way. I like GB News. GB News, Talk TV, whatever. There are the professional commentators who make a living from saying controversial things. And we've talked about Benjamin Butterworth again, who I actually, again, quite like. But you can tell now Benjamin Butterworth has reached a point where he's got to say something controversial, which appears to be extremely left-wing, in order to garner airtime, which presumably populates his career. And I think you're right, you've got to be very careful you don't end up segueing into that.
Exactly, and that's quite easily done. There's many people who commentate on politics who have done nothing in their lives apart from commentate on politics. And that's not me. And I've got decades of experience fixing social problems, working with agencies, the police, NHS, councils. So I'm not here just to be a commentator. I want to get my hands dirty and do stuff and fix stuff. I'm not here to talk about how poor someone else is. I don't care how poor someone else is or how good someone else is. I've got I've not got all the solutions. I've got some of the solutions to our problems, and I'm trying to get an opportunity to implement those solutions.
No, I mean you're not in that. You're not in that category at all. You're a serious political person. You know, you're a man who set up a charity, an important charity to help people in Manchester. You weren't awarded an MBE for not being somebody of substance and importance. And I think you have got a message to say, and also a message that people will take seriously, because you're not a commentator, you're not a Benjamin Butterworth, you're an actual political figure. I mean, I would say that Winston Marshall is similar to you, although he's not as serious as you, because he kind of stumbled into that political career because he was cancelled. But you already had a political career, then you were cancelled as a result of an innocuous comment about Black Lives Matter. So you've actually got quite a legacy behind you, I think. So I think that springboard, that moment when maybe things take off, you know, when that does happen, you'll be recognised as somebody who's quite serious.
Going back to the MBE bit.
I'm not here to flatter you, by the way.
I know. I am doing that. Let me tell our viewers, there's lots of people we know who you think to yourself, why haven't they got an MBE? Why haven't they been awarded something? And 99% of the time, the reason why they haven't been awarded is dodgy tax affairs.
Really?
Because to get any award like that, they go for your taxes.
To check you out first.
Because so if you are using tax avoidance schemes or you're a bit dodgy, that's why people like David Beckham, Gary Neville, the football pundit who does walking scripts that you hate.
Gary Lineker.
That's why these people have all represented their country at the highest level.
Oh, really?
And that's why you look at them and go, why haven't you been awarded with...
Yeah, actually, has Gary Lineker got no MBEs or anything?
And it's always because... It's 99% because dodgy taxes.
Really?
Not saying they've broken the law.
Yeah.
I'm just saying...
Slightly suspect where they
can be... Yeah, or they're avoiding tax. Yeah. If you're avoiding tax into this country, then that it's almost an automatic... Well, we're not giving you an award because you don't pay your way. So it doesn't mean you've broken a law. Yeah. It just means we don't like your tax.
So why is Sir Jim Ratcliffe then? Because he lives in Monaco to avoid tax. Is that because he overtly lives in Monaco to avoid tax?
I've no idea. So it might be depends when he got it.
Yeah.
It depends how much tax is paid. So obviously living in another country is legal. You can do it.
Yeah.
It's when you're doing something that still might be legal, but the government are worried this is going to backfire at some point, that you're bending the rules a bit too much. And so, yeah.
So you're basically saying you have no dodgy tax issues behind you, Nick?
I know I don't because I got no money.
Right, well, we spent 10 minutes not actually talking about any of the subjects that I've got today to talk about. But let's start with politics. And we talked last week about celebrity endorsements. Do you remember Ricky Gervais?
Yeah.
And that awful video that I mentioned. But almost the day after that, bizarrely, David Tennant, who is an irritating Scottish bloke, an actor, who I used to think was okay when I was younger. He was at it was some LGBT awards,
Pride Award,
recognition, because apparently we're in another LGBT Pride month at the moment, which they seem to happen every month. So I'm not quite sure why this is a special month. He was given an award for services to LGBTG.
It was called something like an Ally Award.
Yes.
Because even though he doesn't claim to be LGBT touching his turnaround.
And because he's so courageous and brave, the first thing he did on being given the award was then lay into a black female high achieving politician.
Yeah.
And he laid into Kemi Badenoch, and he basically said, and I'm not even paraphrasing, he basically said the world would be a better place if she didn't exist.
Yeah.
Then tried to backtrack basically, but basically laid into Kemi Badenoch, and Kemi Badenoch is, Kemi Badenoch. She's the
trade minister for the UK.
But she's a very intelligent black female politician who has spoken up around women's rights around trans issues. And is regarded as potentially the next conservative leader. She's very popular. Her views are more traditional conservative views, basically, not a wet Tory. She defended herself, but I just thought that, and people have been laying into Tennant, basically. I mean, she defended herself and said, you find you're able to lay into, a privileged white English man laying into a black female politician, sort of high achieving and he's achieved nothing except being an actor, basically. But apparently one of his kids is trans, or sort of whatever that means. And but I think what's fascinating about this, and he's represented the Labour Party before, he's spoken up for the Labour Party. But this what's happened now as a result of these progressive policies, we now get a man who can openly attack a woman, saying that a woman shouldn't exist in public, and he gets away with it with no outcry. Now, if you had a white conservative politician laying into a black female Labour politician, there would be chaos, wouldn't there?
Yeah, there would be chaos. This has got quite a few angles to it. The first thing on this that annoys me is, why can't David Tennant criticise a black female politician? He's entitled to. If he thinks the world would be a better place without her, then that's what he thinks. He has a right to say it. I'm sick and tired of the right using the left's armour and weapons, such as you can't, as a white man, you can't say that about a black woman. Well, that's what the left do. We're grown-ups. That doesn't affect us. So I'm sick of people criticising him for that. They shouldn't be criticising him for that. He's entitled to say what he wants to say, and I'll defend his right to say it. He said it because there is absolutely no consequences for him saying that. And he knows that to be true. He was in an audience that screamed and shouted and cheered him saying it. The thing I would advise him to do is to be a better parent. Because if he was a better parent, his child wouldn't be non-binary. He's failed as a parent because he was too weak, too soft, too woke, and he allowed his child to develop mental health issues which have manifested themselves as I'm non-binary, which makes no sense whatsoever. That's what he should be called out on and criticised on. The fact he's at an LGBT awards, winning an award, criticising a Tory minister, criticising other people, is no shock whatsoever. But we're all of us, and we're all susceptible to this. And you are as well, I could tell it in your voice when you were talking about this at the beginning, that we're using the language of the far left. He was criticising a female black woman and he's a white man. It's like, I don't care.
I don't think, no, I think the fact she's female, no, I think there's my strands are not that she's black. One is that misogyny now has...
Misogyny doesn't exist.
Misogyny has a veil now.
Misogyny doesn't exist.
Behind the trans thing. So you are allowed to for men are allowed to attack women using the veil of the LGBT trans thing particularly. That's the first thing. So
when you say attack, what do you mean? Do you mean criticise?
Yeah, criticise.
That's not an attack, is it?
Criticise aggressively.
Aggressive. It wasn't in front of her face, screaming at her.
No. And the second thing is...
So no. So it wasn't aggressive.
Yeah. Well, it was quite aggressive because he said he wished she didn't exist. He was basically wishing her dead.
No. What he was saying...
Sorry. That's the point. He started the sentence, if you watch the video, he started the sentence saying, the world would be a better place if people like Kemi Badenoch doesn't exist. Now, to my mind, that's a death threat, isn't it? He's basically saying... if I say, Nick, I wish you didn't exist, It means I want you dead. Yeah? What else does it mean?
It means you think the world would be a better place without me in it.
Yes.
Doesn't mean you want me dead.
Well...
It means... So we keep jumping on the language of the left.
Yeah.
And we keep being fake offended what people say because we've seen the left get away with it for that long.
But I think
that's a new weapon.
I think that is offensive. And the reason you can see it's offensive is he then immediately backtracked and said, I don't wish her any ill.
He was clarifying because then people jumped on saying, you wish she was dead.
Yeah.
That's not what he meant.
That's my interpretation.
I don't think he didn't mean that at all.
That's a subjective thing. My interpretation is when somebody like that says that the world would be a better place if that person exists, you want them gone, disappeared, non-existent, to cease to exist. That's what he's saying basically. That was the first thing I took umbrage at. The second thing I took umbrage at, and it wasn't. I know what you're saying, and I think you're nearly right in that. You know, you're saying, you just jumped on the. The second thing is what gives him the right. A stupid actor with no brains, no insight, no particular capability to criticise a highly accomplished person like Kemi Badenoch, who is highly educated, has achieved a hell of a lot politically in her career. He doesn't even have the right to lick her boots, whether she's a woman, black or whatever. I hate the idea that they believe, because under the veil of the trans thing or whatever, I'm on the stage now, I now have the right as an absolute imbecile to criticise somebody accomplished. So that's my irritation with him. And
But he has that right.
Oh, he has the right.
We all have that right to criticise anyone we wish to criticise, because if we then start deciding who we can criticise and who we can't, that's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
Because the people we want to criticise will find themselves on the side. Well, we've had this before. It was on the last few years we can criticise trans, we can criticise mass migration.
Yeah.
So in the last 3-4 years we can do that. Before that, it was a no-go area.
Yeah.
So he has every right to criticise Kemi Badenoch. and he can do it in any way he wishes, up to the point where he calls for violence.
Yes. But I think that's what I'm saying. I agree with you. I totally agree with you. He has the right to criticise a black woman. Totally he has the right to criticize. Just because she's black and a woman doesn't really stop from criticising. It's the nature of the criticism in terms of, I think it's basically is inciting effectively violence with people, because she's saying this. I don't think this person. It's like saying the world would be a better place if Jews didn't exist. What's the difference? It's the same. That would be the same incitement to violence or whatever of a certain section of society. But that's the first bit for me. The second bit is just annoyance and disgust of the fact somebody like him, which we talked about the week before, with no skills, knowledge, capability, is criticising somebody as accomplished as Kemi Badenoch. That's kind of my... But I take your point. Yeah, maybe there is an element in there where I probably did jump on the bandwagon of the fact she's black and a woman as well.
Because we've seen it all our lives. Yeah. That they get offended at this. So let's use their weapons against them.
Yes.
For the same reason. And it's an easy trap to fall into because it's simple and it works. He should be attacked. But he should be attacked on his stupid views and being a failed parent.
Yeah.
That's the answer to him, by saying you're only there because you couldn't raise your child to be a fully functioning positive member of society.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why you're on the stage. You failed as a parent, and rather than admit you failed as a parent, you're looking for any excuse and any bandwagon to jump onto that validates you as a good parent, because deep down inside you know you failed.
Yeah.
Because your child is now mentally ill.
Yeah. And I think he will have gone through that, won't he? He'll have gone through the stage where he realised something was wrong. He realised the child has got mental issues, psychological issues.
Yeah.
But rather than actually trying to fix that, and for the time, he's gone out and sought a way to validate what's happened.
If I believe this, that means that's not my fault.
Yeah, yeah.
That means my unhappy child isn't my fault. It's because they're non-binary. Oh, I'll have a bit of that, please.
Yeah.
Because now I'm not to blame for anything.
Yeah.
And in fact, I'm seen as a bit of a hero for having a non-binary child. I was special anyway as an actor. I'm even more special now because all the successful actors have all got trans and non-binary kids, haven't they? We see it in America, in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Nearly all the trans people who are coming out, all the kids coming out, have all got famous parents. You've got Jamie Lee
Curtis.
Charlize
Theron has got she's not had any children of her own. She's got 2 adopted black children.
Yeah.
Both bizarrely trans.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what are the odds on that? So,
but you've got me thinking now, because I'm actually now questioning, because I remember when I saw the clip, I remember being really annoyed when I saw it, but I wasn't thinking I'm annoyed because Kemi Badenoch is a woman. I don't know why. I'm now trying to analyse, because you've got me thinking now, am I thinking the right thing here? But my visceral reaction when I saw him doing that was real anger at him at that point. But I'm not quite sure now where the heart of that anger came from. It wasn't because Kemi Badenoch's female and black. I felt like something was being threatened when he was saying that, but I now need to maybe look into that to understand it, because you've actually got me thinking. You've made some very good points.
I would say your reaction is because you are traditional male, and traditional males want to protect women, and when we see men attacking women, and you use the word attack, and that's how you perceived it, I think that triggered your innate role within you of protecting women. I'm not having men doing that.
Yeah, maybe that's what that is. That's a very good point, actually, because it is a man attacking a woman, isn't it? Yeah, it is. That's probably the heart of it. When I see a man, and it's the same with J.K. Rowling. When I see men attacking, I know you're not a massive fan of J.K. Rowling, but I think part of me is you see big, fat, middle-aged men attacking a woman, you know, a slight woman. There probably is a visceral reaction to that.
It's innate in us. Our job is to provide and protect.
Yeah.
We protect women. We provide for the tribe. And it goes against our innate nature when we see these things that we don't like. It's like, no, you're not attacking women, physically, but now it's not so much physically, now it's verbally. And we don't like it because we're traditional men, and it sets somewhat off inside us.
That's good. That's an interesting reaction there from you. An interesting response. Got me thinking. This is another interesting story, and again, it's about women. It's almost about celebrities, but it's about, to me, the fact there are two worlds that we exist in at the moment, and people in certain worlds can get away with certain things, and the world of sports is one of them. And this is a case here, and you and I talked briefly about this before we started. So there's a Dutch volleyball player, Steven van der Velde, who, whilst he was in the UK in 2000 and I want to say 2016, I'm not sure, was arrested, tried and convicted of the rape of a 12-year-old girl, 7 counts of rape something, and sentenced to a 4-year prison sentence. He was then extradited to Holland. He's Dutch. He was extradited to Holland, and then he was in Holland. Once he was in Holland, he was then only served 1 year of prison sentence, was released. He's back playing volleyball, and he's now going to the Olympics. So this is kind of the double standards thing, isn't it? Really, if he wasn't a national standard volleyball player, would this have happened? However, I then started to qualify when we were talking, because I was saying I'm not sure what age he was when he was convicted of this rape, and then I'm thinking, was he a minor as well when this? I don't know enough detail, but I'm then starting to question. But I kind of just wanted to ask you what you thought about this kind of double standard, this hypocrisy we're seeing around certain people and their ability to escape what you and I would normally suffer quite a harsh penalty from.
So I'd never heard of this man until 20 minutes ago when we sat down and you showed me. So this story passed me by for some reason. First thing that jumps out at me is 4 years for raping a 12-year-old girl. What sort of justice is that?
Yes.
4 years for raping a 12-year-old girl.
Yes, yeah.
And we're always, normally people have a go at me, you're only talking about Pakistani Muslims and rape. No, I talk about anyone who's raped a child. Yeah. And I would have the death penalty for all of them, regardless of colour, or religion. So, 4 years.
Just for clarity, I don't agree with Nick's views on the death penalty.
Well, we need to talk about it one day, because I think I'll talk you round.
Yeah.
So, appalling 4 years. So, he then goes back to Holland, serves another year in jail. Not a problem, going back to your own country, in jail. Is now representing the country. Now, this has got nothing to do with his crime. This is to do with the sport mentality of we will win regardless. That's why some sports people cheat. That's why we had the American cyclists taking drugs for years. That's why we have Paralympics, Para-Olympians cheating in sports as well. This goes through the whole of sports.
Yeah, I think there was an entire basketball team that claimed to be mentally...
Spanish,
was it?
Yeah, yes. You had to score 75 on an IQ test to play in the Olympics for basketball, and it was something like 13 out of the 14 lied and didn't. Humans will cheat. Not all sports people, but you can split sports people into two camps. There's people who want to be the best by pushing themselves and being the best because it's all about them. It's all about, I know I'm the best. Then there's another section of sports people that want to be the best in their eyes, and it doesn't matter how I get there. I'll cheat for that because it's not about what I think of myself. It's about what they think of me. So a good example would be Ronaldo. Ronaldo is one of the best ever footballers because he wants to be the best in his eyes. But then we have the American cyclist who doesn't care, Lance Armstrong, who just wants the world to see him as the best. They're the two different types of sports people we have. So the Dutch volleyball team is looking at this and going, well, he's a good volleyball player. We'll have him. He served his time. We don't care about the bad PR. We're all about the medals. And he looked like he could get us a medal. All countries do this. We do it in this country. I can give you 2 examples. Man City player who has got a M16 machine gun tattooed on his leg. Sterling.
Oh yeah.
What's he called?
Yeah. My gosh, I've forgotten his name now. Yeah, Sterling. Is Sterling his first name? Yeah, he's not at Man City anymore.
Well, so you know who he is.
Yeah, I know who he is. Yeah, sorry.
So born in Jamaica, came over here at 7.
Yeah.
Plays for the England team, or played for the English team.
Yeah, doesn't play for England anymore.
Yeah, never should be allowed to play for the England team. He's not English.
Yeah.
He was born in Jamaica. But our English FA are going, he's a good footballer at his time. We need him. Well, yeah, he can play for us. He can play for England. He's not English. Another good example
I've forgotten his name.
Is Mo Farah.
Yeah. He's definitely not English.
Not English. Somalian, comes over here on a fake papers. His name is not even Mo Farah. Did you read about that?
Yes, I think
that all came out last year.
Yeah.
His name is not even Mo Farah. He's lied all his life in England that he was called Mo Farah. He knew he wasn't called Mo Farah. They were the fake papers he was given to get here. And then he runs the Olympics for England, for the UK. Never should have been allowed because he wasn't English or British.
He's a hell of a runner.
For me, it doesn't matter. All these are forms of cheating. We're pinching people from around the world and pretending they're English or they play for us. The Dutch are pinching rapists and letting them play for them because they want to win. We have but sport's always been like this, but we're now doing, I think, even more. We're corrupting the underlining respect and meaning of sport. Sport's about being the best, representing your country and being the best. You may not win, but I represented my country, proudest moment of my life. It's not about that anymore now. It's about winning, because when you win, it attracts money.
And it also kind of rolls into the trans thing as well. Men competing in women's sports, which is a far more extreme...
I can't believe I didn't connect that one myself. Yeah,
it's a far more extreme version of it, isn't it?
So you play at my college,
yeah,
and you're now saying you're a girl and you're a boxer. My college is going to win the state championship with you because you're going to kick the ass of any 4-foot woman who tries to jab you in the face.
Yeah,
it's the same thing. It's cheating. These are just legalised ways of cheating.
Yes. Legalised, and you're right. This guy's cheating. He should be in prison. Now he's playing. He's actually.
Well, he served his time now, so he's out of prison now. He should be shunned for the rest of his life.
Raheem Sterling.
No,
No, I just remembered his name. Sorry.
Raheem Sterling. Right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, he shouldn't be shunned the rest of his life. He's done nothing wrong. But the Dutch guy should be shamed.
Well, there's two. If you were in power, if you'd been in power, he wouldn't actually be alive now because you'd have actually
executed.
You'd have actually executed.
I love people who say to me, "Nick, who are you going to get to do this? Pull the switch." Me, I'll do it.
Yeah, because you can earn a bit on the side doing that, can't you?
For free.
Like Albert Pierpoint.
We could sell the privilege to people.
People would pay for that.
We would earn money.
People would pay for that.
Yes.
I reckon people would pay 10 grand a pop to do that.
To kill someone.
Yeah, easy. So what you'd actually do?
Family members would crowdfund the money for them to do it.
Correct. Yeah, we're actually coming up with a way to fund the national deficit now, aren't we? You actually raffle tickets for the execution.
Well, I've got a whole plan that I've talked about many times about making our prison service a profit-making organisation, where sending people to prison doesn't cost the taxpayer any money.
How does that work?
It'd take the whole show.
All right.
It'd take a whole show.
Well, maybe we have that. So we need to do the capital punishment and we need to do the prison service.
Yeah.
Whilst we're talking about prison sentences, there's also a very interesting story in Hamburg, in Germany, where the Euros are happening at the moment. So there was a gang rape of a young. I don't know actually. I meant to. I don't know if you know the details. There was a gang rape of a woman there, and there were various
many gang rapes of women there.
Yeah, these are other stories we're going to maybe talk or touch on a bit later. But in this situation, these there was this group of, only one of them got jailed, an Iranian rapist of the young women or women. But the names or the identities of the other people were made available generally, presuming in the papers. Anyway, a German woman texted or WhatsApped someone who was aware of the case, not unrelated to the case, then texted this guy or WhatsApped him and called him a pig, and she was then jailed as a result of that. I think for 2 weeks.
For a hate crime.
For a hate crime, yes, because they now have defamation laws in Germany, where if you call somebody a pig, it's similar to I think what's happening in Scotland now. Yeah. If you call somebody a hate crime,
he would say, "I'm a Muslim. Calling me a pig is racist."
By the way, I don't know if he was a Muslim. I did actually try to find it out, but I couldn't actually find out. I suspect he may have been a Muslim because not wishing to appear racist, because one of the other people was a Muslim who was. And as you know, Muslims all hang around together in large groups, so it's highly likely. So she was jailed for that. Now, she wasn't innocent, by the way. She had a criminal record of her own, and I think this was kind of compounding it. But they said on the basis you've got a past criminal record, you've got other things, and you call this bloke a pig, we're sticking you in jail now for, I think it was 2 weeks or something like that. So she actually ended up, even though she just sent a text, getting a more severe, an actual prison sentence, and he didn't. One of the people who were involved in the rape. And in addition to that, as a result of all this publicity, the Hamburg authorities, the coppers there, are now investigating 140 more of these defamation claims from the rapists. So the rapists have said, "Oh, I know you put that. By the way, somebody sent one here, said he's calling me a Muslim bastard or whatever it might be." So now there's 140 cases. So, I mean, that can't be right, can it?
No. First of all, if you've just raped somebody, then you are a Muslim bastard. So I haven't got a problem with that. There was a case in the UK where an Iranian raped a woman, prosecuted, prison sentence, couldn't be deported on the grounds that Iranians treat rapists really poorly.
Oh right, so he would have got far more.
So had to stay in the UK. Mental, but this is all about hate crime laws. All needs scrapping. There was a case in. Was it Holland or it was Northern Europe? There was a case very similar to this. I think it was Finland. I think she was actually an elected official. She said something and she got sent to jail about a similar thing. No, she got sent to jail for, it was Germany again, from what I can remember now, for quoting official crime rates of migrants in her country. And she
quoting them where on Twitter or something.
Yeah. And it was classed as a hate crime, generating hate towards immigrants. And she got several weeks or several months in jail. And she was an elected official, quoting government stats. So all this has gone too far. Hence why Europe are now electing what's so-called far right. But as you said, they're the right.
Yes. Yeah. And that's actually happened now. So when we spoke last week, Le Pen, it was in the Macron-Le Pen was happening. I understand they got something like 34% of the votes, which is a massive shift to their side. Whether that will be diluted in the second stage, I don't know. But it's certainly a very, very clear statement from the voting public in France.
There's a very good chance it could go up. Very good chance that people who want change, who thought Le Pen's not going to win, all of a sudden she's come first. I'm voting Le Pen in the second round. Yeah. But what's going to happen is all the other parties will start dropping out and getting behind one or two of the other parties, so they look bigger. So there's still a lot of wheeling and dealing to go. But a couple of years ago, you never would imagine that Le Pen would have come first in the election for their version of Parliament, basically.
And I'm guessing these laws in Germany, because of course now the centrist right, as I like to call them, are actually gaining ground now in Germany. Yep. Is it the AfD, or am I getting that confused? There's two.
AfD are the ones who are a little bit more towards.
A little bit more edgy, but there's a more centrist right party which is now gaining ground in Germany. I'm assuming they will be opposed to these. I don't know, but I'm assuming they will be.
Germany's been woke for 50 years. Yeah. Germany's had hate crime laws for a long time.
Yeah.
Do you know that it's illegal in Germany to say the Holocaust didn't happen? People get sent to jail every year in
David
Germany.
Irving got sent
to jail.
Yeah. Was he tried in Germany, was he, for that?
Yeah, he would have been, yeah. But other people that get sent to jail every year for saying the Holocaust didn't happen, it was all made up.
I mean, that is horrendous, isn't it? Because whilst I would find that reprehensible to hear somebody say that, because my view is the Holocaust did happen. I think all the
and what's your proof that it happened?
Well, just I would say from things I've read since I was 10 years old to now. So I've read quite extensively on it, and I know there is a lot of evidence around it. But I know David Irving, the historian, believed this not to be the case. I think he specifically spoke around the gassing of Jews. I think that was his particular area where he'd gathered a load of evidence. So Mike, and again, you're asking me the question. I'm now questioning myself. Why do I believe the Holocaust happened?
Because it's always you've been told for all your life it's true.
Yes.
Now I'm not saying the Holocaust didn't happen before.
No.
I'm just.
Yes, I was going to say. Yeah. Please, gentle viewers, don't think this is a Holocaust deniers.
All I know is these people have a right to put their views.
Sorry, that's the point I was trying to make. Regardless of your views, and my views are. The Holocaust happened. It was a horrific thing, and I, as you know, I'm very much on the side of Israel defending itself in the current conflict. You should have the right to say, I believe it didn't happen.
Yeah, and then what happens in a civilized society is then, what evidence you've got for that? And if I've got no evidence, you say, shut up, you idiot.
Yeah.
If they then produce evidence, it's then down to me to dispel that evidence, say, no, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And so we don't change people's opinions by shutting them up.
Yes.
We change their opinions by beating their ideas with evidence and facts.
Well, that's quite interesting because we were out with some friends on Friday, and we were talking about a particular subject, and it might have been Nigel Farage actually. I remember I told you about the lawyer, a friend of my wife's, but it might have been about Nigel Farage, and I started to give facts and data and everything like that, and what she said was, it doesn't matter what you say, I'm not going to change my mind. Now that was quite an interesting response there, because and I'm seeing that a lot now, where people are saying, I don't care what, and it's happening in America with Trump and Biden. I don't care what you say about, because quite a lot of people will talk about the Biden thing later, but a lot of people who were interviewed after that were said, "What did you? It was terrible. Who are you voting for? I'm going to vote for Biden."
Yeah.
And you actually see there, when you actually sometimes penetrate through the actual detail and actually illustrate to these people that they're wrong, that's when they say, I don't care what you say, I'm not going to change my mind.
If you want to debate the left and people with those views, you don't do it with facts and stats. They're not interested. They run completely on emotion. So the only way you can change their mind, if you can change their mind, is you've got to tease out of them their beliefs, and then you've got to be able to twist those beliefs against themselves. So each one's an individual, so I can't give you a way of doing it.
Yeah.
But a question would be, why don't you like Nigel Farage? Oh, right, it's because he's a fascist. Oh, right. Well, did you know that are you a socialist? Yeah, I'm a socialist. Did you know that to be a fascist, you have to be a socialist? Because Hitler and Mussolini both were socialists and spent their whole lives telling everybody they were socialists. Hitler set up a party called the Socialist Party of Workers of Germany. So Nigel Farage may be many things, and you may not like him, but he's not a fascist because he's not a socialist. Why else don't you like Nigel Farage? So what you've done then is you've put them on the back foot, as in, oh, well, I thought I was a socialist and socialists are fascists. Each one's different, but telling facts and stats, don't care, because they just run on emotion.
Yeah. And that's why a politician who tends to move people to vote for them plays to their emotions.
Hitler was great in that, wasn't he? Look at Hitler.
Yeah.
Motivating speeches, had a crowd eating out of his hands.
Yeah.
Trump, to a certain extent, is great at addressing a crowd.
Yeah.
And not just right wing, but Blair Blair had that charm and held an audience.
Yes,
Barack Obama.
Yeah.
That's how these people become leaders, because to be leaders, you've got to have people who want to follow you, and you need those masculine traits to be followed, which is confidence and knowledge. And so,
Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, I think that's very interesting. You're right. I think it's interestingly, this friend of ours who will remain nameless, we tend to avoid the political conversations because otherwise we'd end up having no friends at all. But I've noticed recently she has shifted on a couple of issues, and they come into so when we're talking now, she'll say, I do fall out with my friends now on the trans thing, because I say men cannot be women. Now, if you go back 2 years, that would have just not been said. So there's there is a slow shift with her, very slow, but she's kind of coming around to some of the ideas that maybe we were talking about a couple of years ago, which is quite interesting, I think.
Yeah, and again, if she hadn't come out to the trans thing already, a good conversation to have with her would not be about the CAS report and how many detransitioners there are. It would be, as a parent, would you do anything to save the life of your child? Yeah. Do you think, do you think children make mistakes? Oh, yeah, that's how they learn. Would you let your child drink at 7, have a tattoo at 8, have sex at 9? No, why? Well, they don't understand and then you go, and that is why I don't want children transitioning, is because adult can do whatever they want. An adult can destroy their own life. It's their life to destroy.
Yeah.
But a child, it's that emotional thing with the left.
Yeah, I like that. Very good. On the international news, we were talking about Le Pen. There were some interesting stats that came out from, I think it's a guy called Matthew. I can't remember what his name is.
Matthew Goodwin.
Matthew Goodwin.
Matthew Goodwin's he's a university professor.
Yes.
Lecturer. He's very, very good. He's really hit.
I was just waiting for whether you were going to turn on him, because sometimes you do, Nick.
Yeah. He's really hit the public attention this last year, 18 months. But he's been talking about these things for a long time, coming out with lots of government stats and research that we all know to be true. We just didn't know it was true, but deep down we felt it was true. Yeah. He's coming out with stuff all the time. Yeah. He's got the biggest Substack in the UK. He's got 32,000 people on Substack. Yeah. Which is like a blog.
He came out with some stats which are very clear, very simple, that foreigners in France. Yep. And I think this is what's driving.
And I mentioned some of these last week.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yes, you did, and that's kind of where I was going to come back to a hypothetical if we have time. 8% of the population account for 24% of the prison inmates in France. 77% of solved rapes in Paris, are committed by foreigners. Yep. And in 54% of street crimes in Nice are carried out by foreigners. I mean, those are, for an 8% population, those are massive disparities, aren't they?
And we know it all to be true because we see it with our own eyes. Yeah. We hear people talking. We see the pictures of criminals in Manchester News. We see the pictures of the grooming gang rapists. We know these things to be true because we see it around us. Yeah. And over time, it becomes knowledge. Yeah. And then we have these stats, and that just confirms what we already know. Sometimes we can be wrong. Yes. In our perceptions, but not always. And in this, when we're not wrong, we know.
So can I give you a hypothetical case now, and I'd like you to answer it in two ways. Firstly, as your perception of a man on the street, a man on the Clapham omnibus, and the second answer is as Nick Buckley. So let's assume we're 100 years in the future, 50 years in the future, and anyway we've made contact with Mars, and there are Martian people, and there's interrelationships have happened between the Martians or whatever, and then as a result of the conversations, we've then said to the Martians, you can come and live in England, basically. The Martians, you can come and live in England. We're happy to. Everything's gone really well. We love you. We love the green skin, compared to, sort of thing. different to our white skin, come. So the Martians come to live in England.
And do you know why they would go to England to live? Because on Mars there's no atmosphere.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. So yeah, we like it here for that reason. Anyway, 2 years in, the Martians have moved in. They're in various areas or whatever, and then the crime stats come out. And by the way, some of these Martians have had kids. They've landed. They've had kids. Some of them married English people. The kids are sort of light green, not fully dark green, but that's fine. And so we're maybe one generation into the Martians. But the crime stats come out, and the crimes. And they're now 8% of the population in England, the Martians. And then we find out that they're accounting for 24% of the prison inmates now because they're, for whatever reason, culturally they're quite violent. They're raping. 77% of rapes are now carried out by the Martians as well, and 54% of street crimes are carried out by the Martians as well. So once those stats come out, the Prime Minister gets on the stage and he said, "We've decided we're going to revoke privileges for the Martians, and we're going to send all of the Martians back. We welcome them.
We're going to deport them.
We're going to send them back to Mars." As a man on the street, would you think that was a reasonable thing to do?
Absolutely.
Right. Okay. Right. Now, if I then said, these are Moroccans, would you think that was as a man on the street, would you think that was a reasonable thing to do?
Absolutely.
Right, okay.
I think I said to you last time, foreigners in this country are no more than guests.
Yes.
And as the host nation, we have the right at any time to tell you, go home.
Yeah.
Because you're just a guest here.
But when we say this to the progressives around us, when we talk or whatever, and we suggest, so when Kurt Van, what's he called, the guy in Holland?
Stephen Van,
Kurt Van, whatever he's called. When he says in Holland, I want to send Moroccans back to Morocco, the stats in Holland are very similar to this. But there's an outcry.
Yep.
But would there be an outcry for the Martians?
Yes.
Oh, you think there would?
Oh, I think there would, because the left, again, it's all based on emotion. That's why you can't beat them with facts and stats. It's emotion. So that emotion will be, you can't blame them all for the sins of 10%, 20% of them. Not all of them are criminals. I've met one once, very nice. I know one in Tesco's, and they always pack my bags for me. They're lovely. So there'll be those emotional...
It's those eight green fingers.
Pack them really quickly. So there'll be that emotion.
It's the suckers on the end of the fingers that speed up the process.
Yeah. And these feelings are very feminine. I'm not saying female. I'm saying
that's interesting.
Feminine.
Yeah.
About why can't we all just get along? Because the feminine roles in society were all about keeping a tribe together, cooking together, communal chores when we lived in tribes. We couldn't have certain members of the tribes falling out, so it was the female trait, women there trying to bring people together. They were the ones who would share out food, so everyone got an equal share. Compare that to men in tribes. Men in tribes, there would be leaders, there would be sub-leaders. You would do as you're told because you've not raised up the pecking order yet. Men automatically put men in positions of power or positions, lower positions based on what we know about you. You can change your position, but it takes hard work. And by hard work, what I mean is you've got to show the other men around you that you've got more worth, and they will raise you above. When we have to hunt, most tribes, it's traditional for the leader of the tribe, for the person who brings down the buffalo to take the prime cut of meat, because that's your reward. Women don't do those things because we're different creatures. We're the same species, but different creatures. So this way of looking at immigrants and Martians is all, why can't we all just get along? Do you know what? If we treated them better, they'd stop raping us. It's because the way we treat them. It's the white privilege. It's the white supremacy. We look at them with evil in our eyes, and that makes them rape. So really, whose fault is it that we're making them rape us?
But I thought if it was Martians who were a completely different world and species, people might have a different view. But you think even in that situation that people would say, oh, Martians, because
it would be less people because they are different.
They are very different.
But there'd still be people using the same arguments.
Because people use the argument about immigration, about sending people back. They say it's because of skin colour, and I would say, well, what about Romanians and Bulgarians?
Yeah. who commit crime just as much as the Africans?
Yes.
Send them all back. Send the French back. I'm glad we deported the Dutch guy.
Yes.
This has got nothing to do with colour and religion.
Yeah.
It's to do with we don't want you in our country anymore.
Yeah. Well, we don't want you in our country anymore because you're destroying things, aren't you, basically? Yeah. You're committing more crime. I mean, the stats you told me about Pakistani Muslim babies last week were quite staggering to me. I meant to do some more research on that and maybe present that as a... But if the Martians arrived here and all their kids were taking up 50% of the resources of the National Health Service, again, would the man in the street say, yes, we should deport the...
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And that is the core of racism.
Yeah.
Racism isn't necessarily a bad thing. Racism is about putting people who look like you ahead in the line.
Yeah.
That's what nation states do.
Yeah.
Have you heard the story about the frog and the scorpion?
Yes.
So for our listeners who don't know...
Yeah. It's a good story. I'll probably tell it better, but you tell it.
Yeah, I want to tell it really quickly.
Yeah, okay.
Because it can go on. Yeah. It can go on. Frog and a scorpion on island, and the river starts flooding, and the island's shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. In the end, the frog says, oh, I'm swimming to the other bank. And the scorpion says, I can't swim. Can I climb on your back? Can you swim me over? And the frog says, no, because you'll sting me and kill me. And the scorpion says, no, I won't. Because if I sting you, and kill you, I'll drown.
We'll both drown,
I won't do it. So the frog goes, okay, got my back. Swims halfway across the river, and the scorpion stabs him in the back. And the frog screams and goes, why? We're both going to die now. And the scorpion goes, I'm sorry. I'm a scorpion. That's what I do.
Yeah. It's in my nature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hence, when we look at people from Morocco or other parts of Eastern Europe or Africa or Asia, we're not blaming them for being criminals. We're not blaming them for not being as civilised as we would wish them to be to fit into our country. It's not their fault. But it's not our problem. So deport them.
So where would whilst I agree with Kurt Van Gelders or whatever, and to me again these stats in Paris. And by the way, did I tell you last week a friend of mine had just come back from Paris? Did I tell you that story? No. So he said to me, when was the last time you were in Paris? And I said, about 10 years ago. It's actually probably nearly 20 or 30 years ago. He said, it's dreadful.
I've seen pictures.
I said, what do you mean? He said, well, it's just horrific. He said, we went to a restaurant. I mean, he was meeting nice people, going to nice restaurants. It was business, I think. He said, we went to this typical French restaurant. He said, we got to the door. We had to knock on the door. I said, knock on the door. He said, knock on the door. They opened the door with a chain. Yeah. Oh, who is it? It's I won't tell you his name. They let him in, came in, locked the door. Restaurant was full of people, but they have to.
Wow, I didn't. I've not heard of this.
Yeah. Right. I said, well, why is that? He said, it's the immigrants. He said, it's just chaos on the streets of Paris now. Crime everywhere, graffiti everywhere. He said, the infrastructure's still there, the buildings are still there.
Yeah.
But it's just like a no-go zone basically. Yeah. He said, don't go back to Paris now. He said, you don't want to go back there. He said, it's horrific. And I was quite shocked. Especially the door about the door, the restaurant, just a normal restaurant. They lock the doors to stop immigrants busting in, causing trouble, trying to steal. So whatever is going on, I don't know where these immigrants are, what area they're from.
They're doing it for a reason, because they wouldn't want to do that. Because that's just a bad advertisement for their restaurant.
Yeah.
So there has to be a really genuine reason for them to be doing that.
Yeah. What restaurant do we know in the UK where you can't, where they lock the door to go in? So it is. I understand it's pretty bad in Paris. I understand it's pretty.
I know crime's bad, and I've seen the tent cities, and just videos online of people videoing walking down the street, and it looks like an African shanty town. It's Paris.
Really,
and it's horrendous.
Anyway, we'll move on to a less controversial subject now: abortion, and. Quite something that got me thinking, actually, and I think my views on abortion. Yeah. I'm questioning them now as I get older, having been indoctrinated like the Holocaust. Yeah. So, by the way, I'm not saying the Holocaust didn't happen, but my views on abortion are changing, and I'm listening more. You and I have talked a little bit about it, and I'm watching to try and maybe make sure that I'm getting a full measure of the arguments. And of course, most women watching now will say, what the frick do you know about abortion? Only women can understand abortion and have the right to talk about abortion. But I think I've got the right to talk about abortion.
We've got the right to talk about abortion because our children they're murdering.
Yes.
Simple as that.
Yes, well, that's...
You have the right to murder my child. I've got the right to talk about it.
And I think that the thing that kind of staggered me, there was an American senator, or forgive me, it may have been I don't know, and she said we've got to ban guns in America. They're the biggest cause. More children are dying as a result of gun violence in America than ever before. Yeah. It's outrageous. It's the biggest cause of death for children in the US. And of course, me, the former progressive, libertarian, liberal person, all that, it's ban gun crime or whatever. Then Jordan Peterson, who we know, he's been quiet for a while, hasn't he? He's not been maybe as visible as he has been.
He's doing stuff online all the time.
Yeah. Came back and said the biggest cause of death for children in the US is not gun violence, it's abortions. Yeah. And the numbers are actually quite staggering. He said, so gun violence, 2,500 people died of gun violence in 2023, I think it is. It might be 2022. 2021. In that year there were 625,000 abortions. So what he's saying is actually quite interesting. So I'm not kind of instantly reacting and saying, oh, he's right or whatever. What is interesting, and I think what's fascinating to me, is a big issue we're facing now in the world is certainly in the Western world, is a population implosion, a reduction in population. We're suffering it in the UK. It's rife across Europe. Populations are dwindling. But when I saw those numbers there, which I've never seen before, I didn't actually know or had even asked the question before about a number of abortions. 625,000 abortions that's a lot of people. A lot of people who could be populating your country, growing up to contribute to the economy and everything else. So that's the first thing I thought when I saw that. I just thought, we talk about requiring more people, having more immigrants for that, but actually that alone is a massive contributor to the reason populations are declining.
First of all, I don't think population decline is a problem. I think we'll solve it, not an issue. So let's talk about abortion. So you think those numbers are high?
I was shocked when I saw those numbers, yeah.
What's the abortion rate in the UK? Last year, how many babies were killed last year in the UK?
I don't know how many babies were killed. I don't use that phraseology, but I don't know how many abortions happened in the UK in 2023. Yeah, sorry.
So over the last few years, on average, the UK is terminating 250,000 pregnancies.
Oh right, really?
250,000 times that
per year.
Times that compared to our population density compared to America.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah.
And we're killing more babies per head of population than the Americans are.
Yeah, because the Americans are, how many are they now? Is it
350 million?
350 million. We're 60 million here, so we're six times. So 6 times 250 would be 1.5 million a year. So we're actually twice that. We're actually nearly 3 times the rate of abortions in the UK. Why is that?
First, two reasons.
That's a lot of abortions.
First, it's socially acceptable. Yeah. And the second reason is it's free. We pay for it.
Yeah.
We pay women. We pay mothers to murder their own children, and the state pays for it.
Yeah. I'm sensing from this that you're more pro-life than pro-choice.
Yes.
I'm sensing. I don't know. So, just call me. Call me extra sensitive.
I think this is in history. This is going to be seen worse than slavery in the volumes of time.
Really?
This is going to be seen worse than slavery, that we killed our unborn babies. Do any of us look at the Aztecs and not think that they were barbarians, ripping out the hearts of children, or the Polynesians throwing children into volcanoes to worship the gods? We think they're barbaric. We're doing exactly the same thing. We're killing babies in the womb. Now, it's very complicated. No, it can be complicated. So there's many discussions to have on this. The first one is, when is a fetus life? So is it conception? If you think it's conception, then all abortions are murder. If you think it's the heartbeat or brain functions, then you're looking at 6 weeks old. Most abortions are after 6 weeks old. The feminists, and most of this came out because of feminism. The feminists will say when the baby is out of the womb. There's a big push now to have abortions up to the day of birth. Because...
Yeah, that is happening now.
Because all their arguments lead to that. Because if it's not about brain function or a heartbeat or feeling pain, because all these things happen within 6 weeks. So then, if that's not your argument, then why not abort it up to birth? And then we need to look at people saying, well, the mother's life is more important. And I agree. If there's a medical emergency and we have a mother, an adult, and we have a fetus or a baby or a 2-month-old baby in the womb or a 9-month-old baby in the womb, and it's a choice between one of these survives, well, that's an horrendous situation to be in. And in those 1,000,000 to 1 chance that's the choice, then you save the woman's life every time. I get that. Sometimes there's really difficult decisions to be made, and there is no right decision to be made. It's just different degrees of evil or being horrendous or not knowing what to do. I get that. But I think we need to have a whole podcast session on this, because it is complicated and there's lots of lies been told about this. So I think, from what I can remember, prostitution was made legal in the UK in 1968. And in that year, something like 20,000 people had abortions in 1968. Roll on 50 years, we now have so much more contraceptive. We have the pill, all free in the UK, get it all on the national health, but yet we're killing 250,000 babies a year. That can't be right.
It seems a massive number, that. So you and I as men are pontificating on abortion and all that. What's your response to a woman who says, Nick, which I suspect my wife might say, Nick, you have no right to talk about what women can do with their bodies, basically, and it's their choice to decide whether they're going to keep an unborn baby or not. Yeah,
I would say you're completely wrong. I have every
surprised
right.
Me there.
I have every right for many, many reasons. The first right is you're killing a man's baby. Yeah, you're killing a man's baby. Well, if the man, you wouldn't be pregnant.
Yes.
Why wasn't the woman using contraceptive? All these things. If she still doesn't want the baby, do you know what the queues are to adopt a baby in this country?
Yes, massive. In fact, my sister-in-law had to adopt from China.
Exactly. So again, I'd make that illegal. Adopting foreign babies, I'd make that illegal. But
so you've upset my sister-in-law now as well, as well as my wife.
Oh yeah,
that's fine.
That's fine.
Okay. I'll make sure this episode isn't. Why would you make that illegal? To force them to get babies from the UK?
For several reasons. It's a type of slavery. It's, we're going to go around the world shopping for a kid. I find that horrendous. You're going to take a kid from another part of the world and bring it here. The other thing is, since we've had IVF treatment, the amount of children being adopted and fostered is now dramatically reduced. And it's inversely proportionate to the amount of IVF. So as IVF's gone up, the amount of abortions and fostering has gone down because people have a choice. I'd rather have my own child.
Yeah.
Now, what I understand that, and that's a natural thing to want your own child. I get that. But that means we're leaving hundreds of thousands of children without parents in this country who are in our social care system, who are being abused, being raped. Our social care system for young people is horrendous. Yeah. You know, many criminals come out of that.
Yeah. You have a particular knowledge of this, yeah.
So as a decent person living in our society and you want a child, we have children that need fathers and mothers who are suffering and don't get any love. That's where you get your child from. You just don't go to a new Gucci shop in China and buy one off the shelf.
Of course it didn't happen like that, but anyway, yeah.
So that's why I don't agree with that. But so women who want to go full term, give your baby up for adoption, somebody will take it. People will fight you to take it. There's lots and lots of reasons why we shouldn't be doing it. And another reason we don't talk about is regret. You speak to women who admit they've had an abortion. Most women won't admit they've had an abortion because deep down inside they know they've done wrong. They know they've done evil. Most women won't tell you. And the ones you get to know when you speak to people and they tell you they've had an abortion, especially when they've got another kid now and speak about it, and they're hurting inside because they've got a new kid and they're going, I killed the first version of Debbie. I killed a little version of Tommy, because they would have grown to be like Tommy or Rebecca or Sandra. And the mental pain that causes, because they know it's wrong. Yeah. But when you give humans an easy out on something that's complicated, most people will take it. That's what our welfare benefit system is. We'll give you an easy out. Don't want to work, lazy. We'll give you an option and wonder why millions take it. And that's what abortion is. Instead of facing the consequences of your actions and then taking responsibility, we'll give you an easy out. Murder your own child. And women embrace it and go, oh, I'm a modern woman. It's the shame of the modern West. It's a shame. I foresee in our lifetime, if we live old enough, there's going to be riots on the streets. And people will be pulling down statues. And they'll have banners and placards. And on those placards will be BLM. And it won't stand for Black Lives Matter. It'll stand for Both Lives Matter.
That's good. You've been waiting to say that for a while.
I've said that before, yeah.
I'm just conscious of the time. We're at 1 hour 13 now. So I think we'll end this episode, as we always like to end on a high. On a high. Yeah. Women killing babies. It's the...
Before we end on that, let me tell you two more quick things.
Yeah.
The first thing is, if you're a woman and you're pregnant and I punch you in the stomach and kills the baby and you abort it,
yeah,
it's called child destruction.
Oh, really?
And you can get life imprisonment for it.
But doctors can't.
So, I'll talk about
Sorry, go on.
So, first of all, law states it's a baby, a child, because it's called child destruction, and you can get life imprisonment for it. So why is it illegal for me to punch you and kill my child, but it's legal for you to kill my child? So I'm not saying we ever should do that. The man should be hung who does that to a woman.
Yeah.
Now, doctors, when you're having an abortion, the baby has to be killed in the womb.
Yes, otherwise they get in trouble. Yeah.
Well, it's murder.
Yes.
If the baby comes out and is alive and you don't try to save it or you kill it outside the womb, it's called murder. Now, late-term abortions, so not when you just take a tablet when it's like 6 weeks, but a late-term abortion, the doctor has to go inside the woman with a syringe, find the heart of the baby, and inject poison into the beating heart of the baby, and then get forceps, break the baby up inside, break its arms off, crush its skull, and take it out piece by piece. and that's a late-term abortion.
Thanks for sharing that with me.
It's disgusting, absolutely disgusting.
No,
and people need to know this.
Yeah.
And the fight back and the pushback for this abortion craze we have over the last 50 years is coming to an end. More and more people are talking about it online.
Well, maybe we need to have a special episode on
this.
We do. Give me a chance to read up on about it.
I can send you an article I wrote, because I based my whole arguments on this article I wrote.
Okay. Nick Buckley, 4th. It's the 2nd of July today. Ladies and gentlemen, please vote for Nick Buckley in the general election as your parliamentary candidate for Oldham, East and Saddleworth. Nick Buckley, MBE. Thank you very much.
Did you like that video? I think you did. Hit the bell, give it a big thumbs up, comment, and don't forget I'm standing for election in Oldham, East and Saddleworth. So please share this video, speak to your family and friends if you live in Greater Manchester, and if you live in Oldham, East and Saddleworth, make sure you vote for me. Catch you soon.